Welcome into another edition of the James Boyd Podcast. I, of course, am James Boyd, joined by my editor, Jim Myello, and Jim has a fun setup for today's show. This was not my idea, so I cannot take credit for it, but as editors tend to do, they have great ideas they bring to the table, and I usually just help execute. So, Jim, I will let you fill in the listeners on what we have in store.
Yeah, so I actually, to be honest with you, as any great idea is, I stole this from somebody else. It was a story that I saw posted on the Athletic website. I'm going to give the credit. I don't know if it was the editor or John Machota himself, but he did. He ranked the Dallas Cowboys 11 position groups, and I thought, well, it'd be a cool story for James to do. And if you guys are all interested at all in this, I made Charlotte Carroll do it on the Giants beat as well, so she did that story too. But we thought James and I thought it'd be more fun to do it on the podcast and to keep the integrity of the draft intact here. I don't know what James's list looks like. We're going to publish the story. He wrote a story about it, but we're going to publish it tomorrow. So I have not looked at it, even though he sent it to me. And I put together my list yesterday. So we are set and ready to draft these positions. And I am very curious, like where we're going to overlap, where we're going to snipe each other, when we're going to yell at each other. I think this goes without saying, but at the end of this, when you listen, please comment or send us messages telling us who you think won the draft. I obviously know I'm going to win the draft, but I'd like to have it
Oh,
confirmed
gosh.
by people who are listening. So yeah.
Here we go with this. My only question is because I
Okay.
ranked 10 groups, I had defensive line as one group.
Okay. I split ends and tackles up.
Okay. All right. That's fine. I
If you,
can obviously tweak my story
okay.
according to that. But yeah, all right. I'm ready to go.
All right. Well, listen, it's my concept, so I'm going to be gracious, and I'm going to give you the first pick here
Okay.
because it's your team. You cover him, like I said, I'm betting that maybe we don't have the same one. Even though I think number one. Here's what I'll say. I think that there was two to choose from, is in my opinion. I think there's a clear tier one of positions, and so I'll see which way you go.
Yeah, I think my list is going to really surprise you. But
Okay.
with my first pick in our position draft, I got to go cornerback.
Wait, even though Sauce is like 30 years old.
Oh gosh. Oh man, we can get into that too throughout the podcast, maybe a little bit at the end and to kind of explain a week ago at this time the story that we dropped revealing Sauce's real age. Not revealing it, but confirming his real age. And yes, his mama, I think, is a good source, which he referred me to on that. I'm pretty sure she knows where she was when she gave birth to him and what exact year that was. But yeah, I'm rolling with the cornerbacks mainly because, yes, they do have Sauce Gardner. He is arguably on paper the best cornerback the Colts have ever had in their franchise history with the two first team All Pro nods. The caveat there is that I'm banking on Travarius Ward to stay healthy, but he's
Mhm.
also an all pro caliber player. Yes, they did lose Kenny Moore the second, but Justin Wally, he slots in as your new starting nickel. They were really high on him last year. He missed all of last year due to a torn ACL. But again, on paper, I think that trio and really those two outside cornerbacks are some of the best in the league as far as tandems go.
Not a surprise that you picked them here. Also, my number one, also in my number one slot were the cornerbacks. I just think it's one of two spots, and I'll get to the other one where I both trust the starters and the depth. For the Colts. Not to say that they have a ton of depth there, but they do have guys that, again, some star power at the top, some depth that I trust. It's crazy that we're talking this way about Chris Ballard cornerback room, since it's been like the bugaboo for him for years, not being
Right,
able to
right.
fix this room. And then he was finally just like, F it. I'm trading for Sauce Gardner. I'm signing Charvarius Ward. Like I'm just gonna make this like my team's superpower, which it needs to be, honestly, on this defense, because not to give away too many secrets, but some of the other position groups on this defense are further down my list. So,
Oof. Oof. I think we're on the
all
same
right.
page there.
So with my number one pick and the number two pick in this overall in this draft, I actually surprised myself a little bit by how enthused I was to take the offensive line here.
Okay.
I
Okay.
I kind of thought, like, when I went into it, I thought I was going to be high on the offensive line, and then I started like digging into it, and I was like, oh no, I really like where this is at in terms of the starting caliber talent and the depth. Like, first thing I looked at was like, because offensive line's tough, and you go back and watch, look at some of the running yards, the running names. I looked at some of the metrics from PFF. I didn't realize they finished number two as a unit on Pro Football Focus again, which is, it's take it with a grain of salt. That's not the be all end all, but they had guys who all graded out really well. I mean, Quentin Nelson's still playing at a very, very, very high level. He's a was it all pro season, another six, all he's been a Pro Bowler every year of his career. So you
Yeah.
start there. Bernard Ryman has established himself as a very solid left tackle, like comfortably above average left tackle for the Colts. And so that means like you have, to me, a dominant left side. When you have Quentin Nelson doing what he does on the left side and Bernard Ryman at left. Tanner Bornolini, again, another one where I don't think people realized how quietly good he was last year. A huge reason why I think the offense like took off that first half of the season. Kind of a breakout, honestly.
Yeah, he was
PFF
balling.
grade, PFF grades were super high on him, and again, like that's not the only thing. I think we noticed he was playing well last year, but I don't think I realized how well he was playing
Yeah.
last year. So again, now we're at three spots on this line that I'm feeling pretty good about. I know Matt Gonzalez has some work to do. It wasn't like the best debut season at right guard for him, but that's also not a position he's had a ton of familiarity with. I think the more he's going to play there, the better he's going to be. And then obviously we get to Jalen Travis, who is going to replace Braden Smith, a question mark. But at this point, I'm just gonna let the Colts' history with offensive line development take over. Like they've been really, really good at this recently. Which is, I mean, if you're gonna have a strength on your coaching staff, that is the one to have. And so I mean, I like that they drafted Jalen Farmer. Dane Brugler was really high on him. Like I think that's a nice guy that you can have for depth. I like their starters. I like their depth. I know I've been going on about this, but like I said, I was surprisingly high on the offensive line for myself, and so I felt like cornerbacks and offensive line are like in a tier of their own. Everybody else, there's good positions, but I don't feel like I feel as good about any position as I do the O line and the corners.
I think you make some very good points there. I will say we differed as
Okay.
far as our lists go. But to your point about the offensive line, yeah, Quentin Nelson is just a beast. I was looking up some stuff the other day in preparation of if the Colts pay him. I mean, he's worth the money. It's just a matter of, will they give the GM the leash to give extensions out? But as far as worth of NFL contracts, yes, Quentin Nelson deserves to get paid. The
Hmm.
only other lineman, offensive lineman that is, to receive 8 straight Pro Bowl selections to start the career is Joe Thomas. So, by the way, that guy's got a gold jacket. So,
Yeah, Hall of
I
Famer.
mean, yeah, that's exactly the trajectory that Quentin Nelson is on. And yeah, I think that they were prepared for the departure of Braden Smith. He had been there starting right tackle since 2018. But at the same time, you can't pay everybody, you can't keep everybody. He also had some injury history, not just the OCD stuff, but even beyond that, he had some injury stuff pop up in recent years and really hadn't been that durable. So you move on from him, you get Jalen Travis in there, and you keep things rolling with your offensive line. And also, Tony Sperano Jr. probably deserves the benefit of
Yep.
the doubt when it comes to developing the offensive line. One of the most loved offensive line coaches, I think, in the league, a very highly regarded offensive line coach in the league. And as we always talk about, Jim, we watch these games and it's always sexy and more newsworthy to talk about the wide receiver, the quarterback, the running back, whatever, the cornerback. But when the lines are bad, offensively or defensively, that instantly becomes the story of every single game. And really,
Yep.
why teams win and why teams lose. It's still about the trenches. It will always be about the trenches. We saw that a lot throughout the playoffs this past year with the Seahawks beating the Patriots in the Super Bowl. So no real dispute there. But I think my next pick,
Okay.
will shock you a bit.
Uh-oh.
I'm rolling with the kickers and the specialists.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I
And
All right. Make your case. I have them further down my list. I get it, but let me make
I
your
know
case.
I did it relative to like, okay, relative to their position, not their like
No,
overall
yeah.
importance to the team. I kind of believe Brian Mason when he says they have 2 starting kickers. I think that Blake Groupie really proved himself last year in his limited sample size. He did miss a kick when he played for the Colts. Now, we're not talking about what happened before he came to the Colts. So, Jim, you shut up. I don't want to hear about the past.
I was
I
gonna
don't want to hear
say.
anything about that. I'm
Okay.
talking about the here and now. When he wore a Colts uniform, baby, he was perfect. He was impeccable. And then when we look at, obviously, Spencer Schrader, on a more serious note, I do think he is, at least in my mind, the leader in the doghouse. The Colts have known him for a bit longer. He's had more sustained success in the NFL in recent years, and he was balling, was the special teams AFC Player of the Month before he had a season-ending knee injury. From what I understand, he's back kicking, and he appears
Okay.
to be just fine from what I've seen. So I think that those two are 2 very good options to have at kicker. I think whichever one you decide, whoever wins that kicking competition, will be very valuable in a league that continues to see more and more, it seems like, one score games. So
Yep.
I'm rocking with that. And then, not to disrespect my long snapper and my punter,
No, yeah.
Rigo and Luke Rhodes, Rigo Sanchez and Luke Rhodes remain two of the best at their position.
Dream
So
team.
that's
I
where I'm
agree.
at, baby.
I so I'll be I had them sixth that unit, and it was literally just the kicker. I actually I wrote this down. I said, I'll just say they have questions at kicker. Otherwise, I'd have this group much higher. And so if you're comfortable with the kicking, I get that because I have it, as our buddy and my old teammate Joel Erickson likes to say, Rigo's a witch. He's just
He is. He
unbelievable. Like
is.
half. I looked at it, half of his punts landed inside the 20 last year. Only 3 touchbacks. His net yards per punt were 44.7. That was point 0.2 behind the All Pro Jordan Stout. He remains awesome. Like Rigo is a weapon on special teams. And Luke Rhodes is a 2-time All Pro. So like there's a great unit. I just was a little hesitant about the kicker, so I dropped him down a few slots. But I get that. You're making me want to push him up at least one, but on my own rankings. But you deciding to go with the not real football players. Just kidding. I'm not going to say that to Luke Rhodes at least. Luke Rhodes is a football player. The other guys, see. You leave me with an all pro caliber running back in Jonathan Taylor. I'm going to take him here. I'm going to take them.
Oh, okay. All
I'm
right.
just going. Listen, guy scored 20 touchdowns twice. He's a 3-time Pro Bowler. I was kind of surprised he wasn't an All Pro last year. I know there was some good running back seasons last year,
Yeah.
but he was phenomenal. He carried this offense for large stretches of this season.
He was in MVP conversation.
100%.
Like
And he should have been.
legitimately. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
this wasn't like just us making stuff up. He was balling.
So, I mean, you guys don't need me to tell you about Jonathan Taylor. You know he's special. You know he's awesome. You know he's probably got a few more good years left in him at 27. I know he's angling for a new contract to finish his career as a Colt. Here's what I'll say. The reason I didn't have him I say, this position group in the tier above for me was 2 reasons. One, he's coming off of a crazy workload of 369 touches and 321 the year before. That's a lot. That's a lot of exposure. It's really, really, really hard to stay healthy at that position, especially as you get older. And he is getting a little bit older. And so that leads me into my second concern was if he does get hurt, what do they have behind him? And I don't know what to think of DJ Giddens or Seth McGowan. Are they good enough to be the 1-2? Because I don't think neither of them is going to be the bell cow if Jonathan Taylor got hurt.
Right.
Are they going to bring somebody else in? Are they going to trust those 2 guys to be the dudes? Like, I don't know. I don't think that we know enough about them to feel really good about them. And yet, I just think Jonathan Taylor is so good, so special that I couldn't help but to take the running backs here.
This is how I know you're a former Colts reporter and B, the current Colts editor, because we might have just plagiarized each other with our explanations. Because I have
Really?
the running backs pretty high on my list as
Yeah.
well. I have them 4th.
Okay.
So, and the
You just
reason
like
why,
kickers ahead? Yeah.
yeah, slide kickers ahead. And the reason I had it and I wrote it pretty much verbatim as you just said it, JT's good enough to just carry the room.
It is. Yep.
That's just the reality of it. A lot of it
Yep.
hinges on his health, like any other position. But if he's healthy, he's a special, special running back. And again, he's another guy. We're looking at contracts. Do you pay him? Do you not?
Yeah.
That's a whole different conversation. But if we're talking about
It
his
is.
actual monetary value in the NFL, the position that JT is in is not whether he's going to get paid, it's just by whom. Because he's earned another contract. He's earned a 3rd contract in this league. Because you look at his resume, he's averaging over 90 yards a game in rushing. He's 5th all time. He's 1st among current players, even ahead of a guy like Derrick Henry, who's very special, Christian McCaffrey, who probably I shouldn't put in that conversation because he's more of like the hybrid running back. So if you look at like total yards from scrimmage per game, he's probably way up there as well. But my point is, I don't know if JT gets the same or the proper respect when it comes to being one of the best running backs of this generation, but he
Agreed.
absolutely is, and he's definitely good enough to ball out. But to your point, he played 82% of the team's offensive snaps last year. That was a career high for
So much.
the veteran. He's 27, and if you go back to his college days, unlike Derrick Henry, who he had like a really light year at Alabama where he like barely played as a freshman or whatever. JT's up over 300 carries, I think, in every single season at Wisconsin.
It was a
So,
concern coming in that he had
yeah,
been overworked.
It's kind of crazy that he's still this fresh at this stage of his career. So that's a testament to the work that he's put in. and really just the God-given talent he also has that he's worked to the nth degree. Now, next up in my
Okay.
selection, I'm rolling with quarterback. Cue the
Oh yeah.
music. Dun
You
dun
could
dun.
you could have him. No, I'm
I
kidding.
know, I know, I know. But the reason why is
Yeah, it's fair.
because
It's fair.
Daniel Jones, for the half a season that I saw when he was healthy,
Hmm.
he looked really freaking good. I trust the pairing with Shane Steichen. I trust that Daniel's going to work, prepare, search for any crevice, crease that he can find for an advantage. And as long as he's relatively healthy, and I say relatively, meaning if he has some level of mobility, it may not be 100%, but let's say he's 85% as mobile as he was last year. As long as he can move around a little bit, I think he can still be a pretty good quarterback in this league and a pretty good quarterback in this offense. He was wheeling and dealing last year. They had the highest rated offense in the league. They had one of the best offenses through the first 10 games of the last 25 years, quarter
Yep.
century in the NFL. So I get the first thing someone's going to do when they listen to this part of the podcast is roll their eyes and say, James, what about his health? I know, which probably speaks to how I feel about the rest of these position groups that I put a quarterback room with the guy headlining it coming off an Achilles tear at number 5 on my list of top positions ranked from strongest to weakest. But that's how I feel about Daniel Jones. He's won over the locker room. He is very respected in the building. He's no nonsense. And that I think is what's carrying this argument for me because, as I also mentioned in this piece, which you all can read shortly enough on theathletic.com, I don't really trust the backups. I
Yeah.
have some trepidation there. So I have the Tom Moore. Was it Tom Moore? I think it's Tom Moore. I have that line in my head and of
Yep.
him saying, like, if 18 goes down, we're effed and we don't practice effed. And that's how I feel about the current number 17, Daniel Jones. If he goes down, season lost, it's over. But if he doesn't, if he's available for the majority of the season, if not all of it, which again would be remarkable for him because he only played one full season, I feel good about it. I think that he could be a good quarterback. I'm not saying Pro Bowl, All Pro, but he can be in the Pro Bowl conversation.
If your business runs on 5 different apps, 12 browser tabs, and one spreadsheet that everyone's afraid to touch, it's probably time for Odoo. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that connects every part of your business into one powerful, easy-to-use platform. So instead of wasting time switching between disconnected systems, your entire business works together in real time. Your team moves faster, your data stays accurate, and you can actually focus on growing your business. Let one unified system run your entire business. From the first opportunity to the final payment, everything works together in one place. Whether you're a small business or managing a large operation, Odoo gives you one flexible platform built to grow with you. Learn more at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.
I will say this. I must like the taste of crow since last year I had to eat it with Daniel Jones halfway through the season because I'm doubting him again.
Oh
I
my
need
gosh. Yeah,
I
hater.
need to see more. I need to see it help again. Like I think I would have been a believer had it lasted longer than it did last year, and then he wasn't coming off the Achilles tear. I'm a doubter. Like I said, I don't know if he's going to be ready. I do think the mobility is a big part of his game. I don't know if it's going to be a big part of his game early on this year, and I think that's going to be trouble. Um, I didn't even really factor Anthony Richardson into this conversation just because I don't think he's going to be on this team or a factor on this team. So it was really just a Riley Leonard thing, which is like, you know, he played significantly in 2 games. Um, he looked okay. Like he looked like a backup quarterback, which I think is a testament to him. I don't think even when they drafted him, a lot of people thought he was even going to become a backup quarterback who sticks in the NFL. I think at this
Mm-hmm.
point, he has the look of a guy who could play 2 or 3 or 4 games for you, and you could be okay. Like not, you know, I wouldn't pick that team to win necessarily, but they could stay in the hunt, especially with a good offensive line and Jonathan Taylor. So I I had them further down my list. Again, it's if Daniel Jones was coming off the season healthy, just pure entering the season health. Like even if he had a season-ending injury last year, but he was purely healthy going into this year, I think I would have bumped these guys up a couple more. This position group up a couple more. But the Achilles really hung me up, so I couldn't do it. I honestly I'll be honest with you guys. I almost didn't write any. I almost didn't take any notes on the quarterbacks because I was pretty confident that James was going to take him before I was going to be willing to take them.
Oh,
I did. I
it's
wrote
like
down. I have
insider
notes.
trading or something. What the heck
I
is
have
going on?
I have notes, but I was fairly confident. You listen. You and I talked plenty of Colts. I
Yes,
think
this is
I knew
true.
you were higher on Daniel Jones than I was. So
You know my brain a lot more than most when it comes to these topics.
so
Okay.
I have my 4 and 5 right here, and I'm debating. I'm debating. Okay. I'm just trying to decide if I want to switch it.
Because you know I'm swooping in, baby. You know I'm swooping in.
I know I'm a little worried because I think the two that I'm debating between. I think these are the two that like. I think these are the two that you'll take the other one is my thought. So I'm gonna go with. God, I'm sticking with star power, and I'm gonna go with tight end. I'm gonna go with tight end.
Okay. Okay.
I think Tyler Warren's legit. Again, he's all the things that I think Colts fans hoped he was. I know he kind of tumbled toward the end of the season, but I think that a lot of that had to do with the quarterback play and what was going on with the offense. I think that Michael Pittman Jr. being gone is obviously going to be tough for the Colts. He's a good player, but I think that Tyler Warren is going to feast over the middle of the field. He's going to be the guy that draws a ton of targets for them. He
Yeah.
has an insane catch radius. I think they're going to use him in a lot of different ways again. Try to get him more room after the catch. Yeah, I think he's got the talent to ascend to be a top 5 tight end in this league, and I think that's why they drafted him. And it looked great last year. And assuming he stays healthy, those should be fine. Um, Now, the depth behind him is a little questionable. I mean, I've always been a fan of Mo. I think I would have felt like a little better about this team if Mo was kind of your 3, but he's definitely going to be the 2. But again, if you're going to play 12 personnel stuff and you're going to go in with Warren and Mo, and then at receiver you're going to have Alec and Josh Downs is my guess. Like that can work. That's good enough. I think that's enough offensive firepower that you can feel good about it. So Mo is a good enough inline blocker to make that work in 12 personnel sets. I don't think he's a huge threat in terms of catching the ball, like that defenses will have to respect, but he can, and it's not you can't just totally ignore him either. So,
Right.
and then they have some other interesting pieces behind him that again I expect will contribute minimally throughout the season. So, and the guys who have proven themselves to a degree. So I'm not in love with the depth of this group, but again, I decided to roll with star power at this point because that's just that. Like I said, we're at the part of it now where I have to pick the guys I know I can trust, and Tyler Warren feels like somebody I know I can trust.
See, I feel like you're missing someone though when it comes to the tight end conversation. You left out Carson Tout, former Notre Dame basketball player turned Colts tight end, the next Antonio Gates.
And you're
There's
right.
your
I should have
argument.
included the next Antonio Gates.
I'm just
Sorry.
letting you know, man. Hey, I can see the future. And based off his free throw percentage, basketball wasn't going to work out anyway for him. So he's made the transition. And I say that just joking and tongue in cheek, of course. I do want to check in with him, though, and just see how things are going as far as the transition is happening for him. So I will probably have a story on that at some point throughout training camp when that gets started up here on July 28th. But yeah, I agree with everything you said when it comes to the tight ends. I want to disagree for the sake of our argument and our podcast and the rankings. But yeah, I think Tyler Warren could legitimately be the focal point of the passing offense. Not just the top tight end, but the top figure over Alec Pierce, even though I know Alec Pierce got paid a ton of money to be returning to the Colts. But Tyler's versatility, the size, the smarts, I think that he's the if I had to bank on a player that's going to be better than last year, even though he was very good as a rookie, that's an easy bet to place just because that dude works his butt off and he's just a mismatch nightmare. I mean, he's too big for your DBs and he's too fast for your linebackers, and he understands leverage. And he actually talked about that throughout OTAs and minicamp, Jim, of how he's trying to get even better at getting in and out of breaks, because he was letting us know, like, look, man, 6 inches or a foot or perhaps a yard, that changes so much when it comes to whether you pick up a first down or not, whether you get away from this guy or not. And so I'm excited to see his development in year 2. But with that in mind, and since you went with star power, I'm rolling with the wide receivers.
That was
And
who
the
I was
only
debating.
reason I didn't go with them sooner is because I'm a little scared.
Yeah.
I'm a little skeptical about the state of the wide receiver room right now because the top guy in the room ain't running.
Right.
So, you know what? I should probably challenge Alec Pierce to a race right now, so I can say I beat an NFL player in a race. I beat a 4.4, 4.3 guy in a race one time in my life because he was not moving that great throughout the spring. He was walking with a noticeable limp after having left ankle surgery. He told us that his timeline to return is anywhere between 4 to 6 months, which could be mean the beginning of training camp or the beginning of the season. It sounds like at minimum he's going to miss some time throughout training camp. How much time? We don't know just yet. But I'm a little worried about that because you gave him $114 million. He has one 1,000-yard receiving season. And while he is a very special, dynamic, deep threat, he also has never been the team's number one receiver. So what does that look like? What does that feel like when you get more attention on you? Yes, I know he's going to get more targets, more opportunities, but he's got to really prove himself, I think, moving forward with this money, with this payday, and kind of prove that he's not just this one-trick pony. I get that he was asked to do a lot of those things throughout previous seasons, but now without Michael Pittman Jr. in the mix, you're the guy. And then, again, without Pittman there, and without A.D. Mitchell, too, who also got traded away to the Jets, now you have an opportunity for Josh Downs to get back in the mix. And Reggie Wayne actually had an interesting comment earlier this spring where he said that Josh was basically our tight end before Tyler Warren got here. So, yes, Josh inevitably had some of his targets taken away last year, some of his receiving opportunities, had a career low in yards, but I would expect that to have a significant uptick just because of the need for another wide receiver to step up, and he's like your only other proven receiver in the room. Now, after that, after those two, assuming Pierce is healthy, sooner rather than later, assuming that Josh Downs can maximize his role, the rest of that room looks a little weird because you have Nick Westbrook-Ikine, you have Ashton Dulin, who I probably think is like the front runner right now for wide receiver 3 based off a very strong spring. But again, he's been more so a special teamer throughout his career, a very good one. Don't want to disrespect the guy at all, but I almost think with Ashton Dulin, Jim, that if he were a true number 3 receiver, he would have earned that job by now. Because I get that he is very, very valuable on special teams, but you can never really have the same effect on special teams as you can as a starting receiver, a legitimately good starting receiver. So, yeah, I got some hesitancy there, but I'm rolling with the wideouts.
Yeah, I loved it. Like I said, I was debating between tight end and receiver at that last spot. I ended up, like I said, I ended up picking. I felt better about Warren than I felt about Pierce, and like I said, I think Warren might be the focal point of the offense. Is the only reason I lean that way. I've been completely blown away by the development of Alec Pierce. I definitely think a couple years ago on this podcast we talked about thinking that he was going to be like a Marquez Valdez-Scantling, which is a useful player in the NFL, which is a stretch receiver who can block and take, stretch defense, which he does exceptionally well still. And I think part of the reason they signed him not only is the explosive plays, which like 32 of his 47 catches last year were explosives, which is insane. But it is that he stretches the defense. It is that he's going to open up the middle of the field for Josh Downs and Tyler Warren. I can imagine a lot of like 12 personnel plays with those guys, with Josh Downs and Alec Pierce on the field, and a 3-man routes because most days in the block, and it's play action, and Daniel Jones is like dialing up a deep ball to Alec Pierce. So I definitely think that's what's going to happen. It's assuming he's healthy. I expect him to take a big leap forward in terms of his production because I think, in terms of his route running, I think the intermediate route running was excellent last year, way better than I ever thought he was going to be. And so, I have no reason to doubt him. I'm a big Josh Downs fan, always have been. And then, like as you said, my main hang up is just the depth. Like, I think we're at that point too. Like, I think we started it early. Like, I think a lot of these spots, you feel decent enough on paper about the starters, and the depth is just where you're like you're a little concerned about this team. So I'll move on to my number. This is actually, we've knocked out my first 7, so I'm on number 8, and this is the 8th pick. So that lines up pretty well for me. At this point, I think I just have to go with defensive tackles and DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart. Like, I don't feel awesome about it. I'm really worried about DeForest Buckner and the neck and how long he's going to last. And again, when he's healthy, he's exceptional. I still think he has some exceptional play in him if he's healthy. I just don't know if that's what we're going to get. Grover Stewart is coming off a pretty disappointing season. He had a half a sack. His TFLs were cut in half from the year before. He's still a good run stuffer. but he's just getting older. He's 30. He'll be 33 in October. Like he's been around. He's been a great draft pick by Chris Ballard, but at this point, like I think the run might be almost done. Defensive tackles, bigger guys like that can age okay. Like
Yeah.
they can hang around the league for a couple of years and still serve a an important role on a defense. But the other part of this is again, like we talked about, I don't have a ton of faith in the depth behind him. I just don't know what they can count on if one of those guys goes. Like if DeForest Buckner isn't ready, what do they count on? So I had to go with them here. This is partly me, I think, giving DeForest Buckner some of the benefit of the doubt, even though I
Yeah.
did slide him this far down in the rankings. So,
Yeah, I didn't feel great talking to him at his kids camp when he
yeah.
really just couldn't commit to a timeline at all of when he could possibly be back. Said he could possibly be brought along slowly and that the goal is week 1. But all of us have a ton of goals, and I'm not being bogus when I
No,
say
yeah.
we don't always reach them. So that is, I think, a valid reasoning that you use there, Jim. I will roll with safety as
Okay.
my next pick. And I roll with this because I think Cam Bynum is a star. I think that he's a stud. Well, maybe not a star, but he is definitely an above average safety. Someone
hmm
who I do think, if their team success kind of lines up, he could be a Pro Bowl caliber player. Never has earned that title, but signed a 4-year, $60 million deal last year. Hefty price point for a typically kind of frugal Chris Ballard. He usually doesn't pay outside free agents that much money, but he
Nope.
delivered in year 1. Had a career high 4 interceptions, had 8 pass breakups, did a lot of TikTok dances and stuff in the end zone after some of those turnovers. But I like what he brings to that room, what he's already brought to that room. And then after that, yes, you're going to have questions about the rest of the room because Nick Cross, who I thought had a really good season last year, is out the door.
Yeah.
But AJ Halsey, Lou Anarumo loves him some AJ Halsey. Mr. Gimme That. Great nickname, by the way, for
Yeah.
a turnover ball hawk type of defensive back, the self-proclaimed ball hawk. He is coming out of LSU, 3rd-round pick for the Colts. And it wasn't just him. It was Cam Bynum. It was, I believe, Shane Steichen as well. They're all pretty high on his IQ. And I think that's what stands out to me the most because with rookies, especially guys drafted in the 2nd and 3rd round, I'm usually not worried about you athletically. It's more
Yeah.
so can you just get the NFL terminology, and things like that down so you're not out there making mental mistakes. But it sounds like he's a very cerebral player, watch a lot of film, and they feel good about what he can bring to that room. So if he hits, boy, you're cooking with gas there. And I think he offers more versatility than Nick Cross with some of the, strong safety, box safety versus being a free safety. Like, I don't think that the positions are as rigid if you have Cam Bynum and AJ Halsey out there. And Cam actually alluded to it a little bit, saying, hey, we might be able to toss some things around and get some things done just because we have some interchangeable qualities.
I have no issue with it. I came down to okay, here's what I think it came down to for
So
me.
we got the scraps.
I had to choose between Leatu Latu and Cam Bynum it's pretty much what I thought. Like depth wise, I don't feel great about either. Like I don't necessarily know what the second, like you said, we'll see about Halsey and what he ends up being able to do for them. I don't know, but again, like I don't know what Arden Key is going to give the Colts. I'm not sure what JT Tuamoliau is going to give the Colts. Like I just don't know. George Gums. Like I don't feel good about the depth in either spot necessarily. So I
Yeah.
was just like, you know what? Who do I trust more? And I came down on Latu. It just slightly. I think just slightly. Like I said, this is the spot I really debated safety versus pass rusher. But Latu had a really good season last year. He was intercepting passes like a crazy person for a defensive end. He finished with 8.5 sacks. Pressure rate was 14.7%. Like those are really really solid numbers. He had 41 hurries. He had over 60 pressures. Like he established himself as an upper tier pass rusher, I think, in the NFL. Not like a elite or like all pro, but like I think borderline Pro Bowl pass rush. Like that, I think
Right.
that or pass rusher. I think that's what he can be, or like that's what he established himself as last year. So I am optimistic about where things are going for him. You wrote about it recently. Like they need him to get to that Pro Bowl level and
He's
be a
got a
star
ball.
and lead this defensive line. Because as we talked about the defensive tackles, like they're getting old and injured, and it's tough. So. Yeah, I'm a believer in Leatu Latu. I think they do have a really good pass rusher there. And after that, I mean, again, Michael Clemens, some of the guys I didn't mention, Caden Curry, I said George Gums, Blake Jr., but I don't again, I'm not going to get into detail on a ton of these guys. I don't know what we're going to get from a lot of these guys. I think they're, some of the veterans are fine. I think the rookies, have some upside, but like, I don't know. I think I need to see it. This is going to be a good exercise maybe to do after training camp. Like you're like, maybe one of these guys has a Justin Wally like camp where they're like,
Yeah.
holy cow, like this is real. Like we are going to see some immediate impact type of thing. So, yeah, that was where I came down. That was my debate. So that leaves. I don't know how we're gonna do this. Am I ridiculous for realizing that 11 positions we couldn't split those evenly? I just realized that like a minute ago.
Fine.
So,
You're fine.
Did you have linebackers last?
Yeah, I had linebackers last. That's where I had.
So
them.
I guess we won't. No one gets linebackers. I guess is what we'll say.
Yeah,
But
that's
what do you?
fine.
Yeah,
And honestly, for my story,
here?
I never split up defensive tackle and defensive end. I kind of just lumped it together. So maybe that's easier for people to listen to. A list of 10 versus a list of 11 might get a little weird. But the point is, I had linebacker last just because of experience. I haven't seen them together. I get that CJ Allen is very highly touted. He's been getting a lot of high praises from the coaching staff and his teammates, but he's also replacing Zaire Franklin, who's been here for a while. I know he was flawed, but he was a team captain. He was a second-team All-Pro in 2024, led the league in tackles for a couple of years, and I don't think that's something that we can just overlook, as well as the rest of the room. Like Akeem Davis-Gaither seems like he would be the starter next to Allen just because of the experience he has with Lou Anarumo, having played for him in Cincinnati, but that's where I'm at, Jim, on the linebackers and why I have them last on my list.
The only thing I'd say is that Chris Ballard has a pretty good history of finding linebackers in the draft. So I'll give him some benefit of the doubt there. But no, my last note was this is a big case of show me. Just show me. Like if they're in November, you and I might be like, whoa, this is way too low. But for now, this is where I feel like we have to be. So my quick question for you here before we wrap up is like, lessons learned? Like, what did you come away from this thinking after you made this ranking yourself?
Honestly, I didn't feel like they had a lot of top-end groups that I was like, this is absolutely a strength of the team. Yep. I came away from it like, okay, cornerbacks are strength, offensive lines are strength. Like, I feel about my kickers. Kickers are strength.
Right.
But after like the top three, which is probably the case for most teams, I did feel a little bit like, man, there's a pretty significant gap from like the 3-4 range to the rest of the group. And I'm not feeling great. And the most important groups probably aren't still some of your best. Edge rusher, defensive line. Yeah. I'm not feeling great about that side of the ball at all.
That's what I mean. That was my two main takeaways were one is defensive. I have my last 4 spots are defensive tackle, defensive end, safety, linebackers. Like that's not great. Like I don't feel good about necessarily where the defense is beyond the cornerback room. And my other takeaway was like, I think you look at the first line of the depth chart for everybody on the Colts and you're like, yeah, I feel pretty good about that. Like the first guy. And then after that, on a lot of those spots, you're like, oh boy, if they get hurt, like this is going to be an issue. So yeah, those are my 2 main takeaways, was just being like the depth on this team. You really need some of these young guys to step up and fill a role quickly because injuries are going to happen. It's the NFL. So I think there can be right in the hunt in the South after going through this. I don't know. I don't think it made me feel better or worse about them. It just made me feel like, this is a bit precarious if they are not healthy.
There you go. So that will wrap up this edition of the James Boyd Podcast. I hope you enjoyed Jim's idea. I certainly did. Had a good time drafting the positions, debating with the boss man, and collaborating, of course, try to bring you all some fun summer content. I will say as a parting gift, don't believe everything you see on the internet. Sauce Gardner is 24, not 25. If you haven't read that story yet, go check it out. And we will check in with you all very, very soon.